And now back to your regular programming.
If you speak better to yourself.
You showed up for like probably the dumbest conversation we've ever had on this show.
Let's have that smile again.
Tell me how that happens. Physically should not happen.
Relax.
If you say it
Give me as well.
3 times a day, God will line it up.
He's just an absolute hack, and he gets his ass kicked by his teammates every week. It's just terrible.
We're talking about Julio Jones's retirement, Trey McBride getting a massive extension, and the Bengals possibly relocating. Maybe they could be leaving Cincinnati. We also have a very interesting hack of the week. We have an interesting story that Sean shared with me about somebody he noticed on the shuttle going to the PATH train to get into New York City. That is coming up way later. But before we get there, Sean, can you share with our listeners a word from our friends over at MyBookie?
Yeah, for all the cowards that are threatening to leave the chat real early into this show because of a 1 minute brief delay.
I had to fix something, Ryan. I had to fix something.
Well, you could sit around for another 1 minute as I tell everybody about the beautiful people at MyBookie and what you can get if you use them to do your wagering. If you like taking that bet with OV to break the record, congrats, sir. One of the greatest athletes I've ever seen perform in person and a DC hero and legend. MyBookie, if you want to keep on betting on him scoring goals, which you will do, head there. Take the bets. MyBookie has a bet and get. It is back to sweeten all the deals, all the bets. Place a cash bet on March Madness. We got one more game. Get a surprise reward. Free bets, cashback, bonus chips. You never know what's coming next. Whether it is the number 1 seeds rolling on, which we have seen. Not going to be an underdog shock in the world, as we know. But you can sign up at MyBookie today using the promo code MM50, and you can boost your bankroll with a deposit bonus designed to help you make the most of your money. If you don't want a bonus, that's okay too. Just make sure you know that we at Hack City sent you using code MM50. Bet on every game, anytime, from anywhere, only with MyBookie.
Thank you, Sean, for doing that. Much longer than the other read.
We got to, you know what, used to the other. We're going to get our sea legs underneath us for this one.
Anyway. I know that this had the utmost significance to you, Sean. Julio Jones, legendary wide receiver in the NFL, announced his official retirement. I thought that this was quite funny because I could have sworn he was retired because he hadn't been playing, but he officially announces it. He retires as the 16th all-time leader in receiving yards with 13,703 yards, 61st in receiving touchdowns with 66, and then 27th in receptions with 914. He didn't have a 4-year career. He had a long career playing for 4 different teams: the Atlanta Falcons, the Philadelphia Eagles, the Tennessee Titans, and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I mean, I'm just going to let you just do what you got to get out before we get to the real question that I'm sure is going to anger you, but just go ahead. Unload.
I'm not sure what that question could be since we're speaking of maybe the second greatest receiver of all time.
Oh, you're out of your damn mind.
Behind Jerry Rice and Jerry Rice alone.
Okay. Before we get to that, can you just – I'm giving you the floor uninterrupted.
Doesn't feel like I have it.
Giving you the floor uninterrupted to
Happy
retirement.
Him. Happy retirement, King. The athletic ability, the maturity off the field, dealing with all types of football shenanigans and never uttering a word, having defensive backs like Patrick Peterson try to chirp you and get in your ear before games, and then busting their ass for 4 quarters is something you did routinely. Never took the bait. It on every single defensive back in the NFC South for a decade. The battles with Marshawn Lattimore were stellar. You destroying Carolina every time you played them. Fantastic. The Buccaneers was the Buccaneers. You were kind of in the middle of the road there, but that was still greatness, still averaging about 91 yards per game, which before the career fall off, he probably would have averaged most career yards per game had he retired before that Tennessee season, which was rough, and before some of the Philly and Buccaneers years. But even in the later stages, let it be known, Joseph, that his supreme athletic ability in his mid-30s, late 30s, was still a contributor, still a guy that Tom Brady was looking to go to. In those final playoff promos that at Tom Brady's last run in Tampa, They were highlighting Julio Jones as being a premier target for the guy. He
was a recognizable
his
name for the
longevity,
average mouth breather who didn't really pay attention to the NFL.
Scored a touchdown in the playoffs with that Bucs team. A guy
299 yards with the Bucs that year. Let's calm that down.
I thought it was
a
my
little bit.
floor.
Well, when you're saying crazy shit, I get to interrupt you.
One bad hamstring away from being arguably the greatest receiver of all time, definitely the greatest in the modern age. But yeah, had a hammy thing. That's the only drawback I have for Julio Jones for the rest of my life. My favorite receiver of all time, my favorite athlete of all time, announced his retirement. I am sick to my stomach that has happened. I love the outpouring
he
of
was
love.
35. Let's not say 36. Actually, I think he's almost 36.
I well understand that. Him doing it on 404 day,
him
showing love to Matt Ryan and the Falcons organization. Great. I know they went out not on the best terms. That happens. He's not the first athlete to go out on not great terms with the team that drafted him and was the team for the majority of his career, but he still showed love to Atlanta. Atlanta still loves him. I still love him. And there's nobody in the modern age of receivers past Rice that I would take on the outside over Julio Jones. And that's Megatron, that's Antonio Brown, that's anybody. That's Hines Ward, whoever your GOAT is, Marvin Harrison. They don't hold a candle to number 11, JJ in the A. They don't touch him. He's the best that we have been alive to see.
He was, of course, a legend, too. You can't forget about how great he was with the Philadelphia Eagles in 2023.
Elite receiver aesthetic with the Eagles also.
An amazing season that he had there in Philadelphia. 74 yards. He did have 3 touchdowns. Good for him. Ryan points out a really fun stat, though. He has the same amount of 10 touchdown seasons as Brandon Lloyd of all wide receivers.
Julio Jones has the most 250-yard games in NFL history.
10 touchdown season. Oh, look, I'm not knocking Julio. I mean, Julio has been supremely talented, and for a brief spurt, let's call it from 2014 to 2019, he was minimum top 2 receiver in the NFL, was consistently the best receiver for periods of time through that stretch. But I'm not going to – he's not top 5. He's not top 5.
Top 5 what?
Wide receivers of all time. Huh. He's not top 5.
Oh, excuse me?
Jerry Rice, T.O., Calvin Johnson, Larry Fitzgerald, they all rank higher than him.
That's 4 people.
In most statistical categories.
That's 4 players.
Marvin Harrison Sr.
Yeah. Julio's better than Marvin Harrison.
Tim Brown.
Better than Tim Brown. I think he's better than
Chris
T.O.
Carter.
Better than Chris Carter.
Here's my problem is that if he didn't fall off a cliff so aggressively the way that he did when he turned 31, I think our perception of him would have been completely different. Nobody's catching Jerry Rice because Jerry Rice is one of those just few rare dudes that just played at the same level every single year, even until the end of his career, basically, and just kept playing way longer than anyone capably could have. But the problem with Julio is that he was such a height, weight, speed freak that by the time that he got towards the end of his career and he started to lose a little bit of that burst was why we saw that 4-year stretch where he didn't get over 1,000 yards.
He didn't lose burst, though, Joe.
He did.
No, he was still burning in Tampa and Philly. He just had a bad hammy. He still had that burst.
He was still a great player.
Let it be known he never lost the burst or physicality.
He wasn't
just
that
had a bad hammy.
Athletic freak that he once. Well, I would argue if you have a bad hammy, you're not as bursty dominant as you were.
Then that's the reason. It's not because he just lost it. He didn't lose it. He was always
Julio
he
couldn't
Jones.
Access it because he was. It's like saying that you've got a Corvette that can go 200 miles an hour if you really picked up steam, but the engine's been messed up for 3 years, and it's it's still got that in there, but the engine's broken and it can only go 90 on the highway.
Ryan's got a good top 5 here: Jerry Rice, Randy Moss, T.O., Calvin Johnson, Larry Fitzgerald. Sub out T.O. for Julio, and we got a perfect top 5.
T.O. has one of the most decorated careers ever for a receiver.
Who'd you sub out then?
How often are you sitting here thinking about? I would put Julio at 6.
Also, if we're talking about career flame outs, we could talk about T.O. going from team to team to team to team to team and doing nothing. What do you mean from doing? Hold on one second. I led this in by pointing out where he ranks among all of those statistical categories. He's 16th in all-time in yards, 61st in touchdowns, 27th in receptions. He's not even top 10 in any of those categories. He has one of the single greatest seasons of all time when he had the 1,800 yards, which was incredible.
but at the same time, he doesn't have that longevity. Calvin Johnson played way less seasons than he did and has 2,000 less receiving yards and has more receiving touchdowns. That's the crazy part about that.
Yeah. Oh God, sorry that Atlanta had a couple running backs that could get in the end zone. Detroit, you're one guy that could get into the end zone.
Oh, come on. That's revisionist history.
That's not revisionist.
That's revisionist history.
That's adding context to the situation.
That's revisionist
Julio
history.
didn't necessarily get in the end zone all the time, but he had walk-off wins. He had defining moments as a player. What's T.O.'s defining moment? He broke his leg.
T.O. had 1,000-yard receiving at the age of 35. At 37 years old, he had 983 yards. He has the longevity.
The DBs now, and I'm doing it, and this is a first take. The DBs now would have had
2010.
They would have had T.O. in a
What are
chokehold.
you talking about?
Give me a break.
Oh my God.
T.O. was burning DBs before they learned how to play DB, when they were just wide receivers that were getting converted. I like the way that the cornerback position developed in the 2010s while Julio was playing was a direct result of Julio Jones. And by the way, all the guys that Julio was competing with for like the one spot of the 2010s in which Julio is the best receiver of that decade all fell off. Des Bryant thought he was going to be – no, he fell off. Antonio Brown, he fell off. A.J. Green, worse fall off than Julio. All the guys that he was dueling with, no more. They're a whisper in the rearview mirror 2 miles back compared to what he ended with.
Okay, but hold on. I haven't mentioned any of those guys in the conversation. Julio is obviously the best receiver from his decade. The 2010s, he is the best receiver.
So then he's better than Calvin.
No, he's not better than Calvin. Never mind. Never mind. Well, yeah, because wait, what year was Calvin Johnson? If my timeline of when Calvin Johnson was in the NFL and when
2007 he was drafted. It was either 2007 or 2008. One of the two. He might have gone before Matt Ryan in 2008.
Calvin Johnson was still better than Julio Jones.
He was I'm not. Here's the tricky part, because I don't want to get in a situation where I'm running down Calvin Johnson and calling him a one-trick pony, which he isn't. He could run routes. He was strong. He was fast. He could do the jump ball thing. I'm not going to run him down. Okay. That's not fair to Calvin Johnson. But Calvin Johnson's route bag was nowhere close to as good as Julio Jones's route bag. You see the way that players talk about him. He could run every single route. He wasn't a one-trick pony. He didn't
Calvin
have
wasn't a one-trick pony.
Jump ball Calvin. Calvin's down there somewhere.
No.
Yeah, technically, he was a one-trick pony for how we remember him. Julio Jones, we remember him as a dazzling receiver that could do literally everything. Screens, deep ball, intermediate work. He did it all top to bottom.
Well, I'm glad that I sparked this debate with you. Here's a really disturbing fact, actually. Julio might not even be better than DeAndre Hopkins, who is still playing, who is 32 years old and has almost 13,000 receiving yards, has more overall
What's D-Hop's
receptions.
what's his signature moment? What are you going to remember D-Hop for? Breaking D'Angelo Hall's ankles in a summer training camp practice? What do you remember
he has more
for
receptions
D-Hop?
and touchdowns, and he's still playing, and he's younger than him. I mean, there were some stretches where the Texans were dog shit, and he was the only reason why they had any relevance.
You're even missing the only one, and it's the Hail Mary in Arizona. That's the only thing that D-Hop did that's really memorable. That's really remarkable, aside from being DeAndre Hopkins, who's a very good wide receiver.
Okay. Julio obviously has some remarkable moments, and he has some of the craziest highlights, especially the chase downs that he has. It's comedic to watch him do it, but he has some incredibly important plays in the history of the Atlanta Falcons and their success. But if he had not fallen off the way that he did when he turned 31, I think that our conversation, the way that we'd be talking about him, would be completely different.
I still reject the way that you're introducing that like he had fallen off. He had a hammy issue.
That's a fall off. An injury availability is important.
I'd rather you lead it in
about
with
injuries
Julio,
all the time, and now all of a sudden
Julio had a hamstring thing, and that prevented him from becoming the best wide receiver.
It's a fall
off.
Off.
You're trying to
a
find
bad
some
hamstring on a
validation.
receiver for 3 seasons is a fall off.
You're pre-validating a non-top 5 argument without really laying it out that if his hammy was fine, then he would have.
He might not even be top 10, Sean. He might I actually almost came in here thinking like he might be 10th. He might be 10th.
You're a crazy person. This is just
DeAndre
not a sane
Hopkins
argument.
has better numbers than him.
What has DeAndre Hopkins ever done? What's the impact play? What is it? Did he make a fantastic toe tap catch in the Super Bowl and do everything he needed to do that? Or how about the week before in the NFC Championship game where he goes for 180 and 2 touchdowns, takes over the game, and beats the absolute world-stomping Packers, almost all on his shoulders?
I'm not.
How about the 300-yard game against Carolina? Who's the last receiver that's had 300 yards, Joe? Can you remember it?
Hold on.
It's Julio Jones.
Hold on. My biggest problem that when we get into these greatest of all time discussions is trying to separate the game-by-game success and the game-by-game impact from the consistent career success. Because there's been plenty of people in the history of the sport that have been freakishly dominant and were some of the best to ever grace the field at their individual positions in terms of athleticism, all of those things. The easiest example is Bo Jackson. Bo Jackson, not from like a standpoint of career success, he is the greatest running back to ever play from a physical profile. But because he got banged up, he'll never be in that conversation. He never even will touch the top 50 of that conversation because he didn't have enough stats to actually mold the two things together. Julio was phenomenal. I'm kind of giving you shit and getting under your skin here by saying he's not top 10. He's top 10 in my eyes. I think that he's 6th or 7th or 8th. But I see a lot of guys that were physically gifted and then also stacked a ton of crazy seasons. Randy Moss has to go over him for this debate of is he the second best receiver?
I'm not leaving Randy Moss out of my top 5.
But he's number 2. Statistically, he leads in far more categories than Julio does. It's really weird.
What did Randy do? Randy had the Thanksgiving performance. Randy burnt a bunch of time in Oakland. He was great with the Vikings. He got saved by Tom Brady and the Patriots. And then what happened after that? He went to Tennessee.
Okay, he had one of the craziest strings.
Mark's being absolutely ridiculous here. Isaac Bruce, no, and I love Isaac Bruce. Reggie Wayne is nuts. Irving Fryer, you're not even speaking real, Mark. And Devontae Adams. Devontae Adams is not even in a realistic conversation either. Are you kidding me?
If I said Fred Biletnikoff, how pissed off would you have gotten?
I'd respect that you're bringing up Fred, but Fred was also playing when Stickum was not allowed, but they were using Stickum with the Raiders.
The same time frame that I illustrated that Julio was one of the best receivers in the league. This was Randy Moss's stretch from his first year in his career in 1998. He had 1,300 yards, 1,400 yards, 1,400, 1,200, 1,300, 1,600. Now, he didn't have that same ceiling of that insane 1,800-yard receiving season that he did. But on top of this, Randy Moss also had crazy receiving touchdown years where he had 17 in 1998, he had 15 in 2000, 17 in 2003, and then the 23 that he had in 2007, as well as when he was 32, he still had 1,200 yards and 13 touchdowns in 2009 with the Patriots before he suffered his career fall off. But his impact started a lot earlier, and it was a lot more continuous, minus the 1 year in 2004 with his last year with Minnesota. You have to at least concede that Randy Moss, who was also physically dominant and also consistently successful, was better than Julio.
Randy Moss was a 1 of 1, but Randy Moss didn't average over 90 yards a game for 6 straight years. And by the way, 4 of those 6 years, Julio was over 100. Maybe it was 7 years. Yeah. Looking at it now, 7 years straight over 90 yards a game, which would be an NFL record if he had clipped it after that. He would hold that record of being the most consistent wide receiver. Most consistent, most dominant. You don't just stumble across 116 yards a game.
I know who Irving Fryer is, Ryan. Sorry. Julio or Mike Evans? Julio's better than Mike Evans. I'm not doing. That one I'm not entertaining.
Here's the thing. We can use statistics to prove every argument right. Homer Simpson made that statement in the 90s. It's true. But when you really know something, I don't know. I think it was like season 4.
Okay.
You look up Homer Simpson quote on statistics.
I'm not questioning if that was a real quote or not, but that's hilarious.
But when we decide to actually feel who's a top 5 guy, Julio's a top 5 guy. He's a number 2 guy for me all time. For others, he could be a 6, a 7, an 8, like you said. But when we're being real objective and thinking about it without trying to make some yards per game, receptions, yards standpoint, Julio's a top 5 receiver of all time.
Top five.
If we really start working through it,
okay,
he's a top 5 guy. You don't just leave Julio Jones off that list when you start thinking about it. He's got too much of a strong defense contingency.
I don't believe he is top 5, but I will not get upset at you for putting him top 5. But I will get upset at you is considering him top 2, the second best receiver of all time, when Randy Moss and T.O. have better arguments against him. They have better arguments for being in that debate of being the second best receiver of all time.
I wouldn't say so. As a full NFL football player, all that, Julio never had any issues. He was never in the media. He was never in the spotlight. He was a perfect football player,
so
Joe.
Because Randy Moss mooned the crowd, he's not allowed to be considered.
Because you know who number 1 is?
They're
Jerry
playing
Rice, who is a perfect player.
That is always about being a diva. We talk about this all the time.
These guys, Randy Moss
are obsessed with themselves.
Randy Moss and T.O. made that position a diva position, and Julio Jones didn't take the bait. He didn't take the bait.
Good for him for being quiet. Maybe if he was a little bit more of a diva, he would have lasted a little bit longer.
No. That is not the point of the case whatsoever. But if we're putting full career trajectory, full everything on it, Julio Jones is a perfect football player. Genuinely a perfect football player.
He was
a bad
amazing
hammy, other than that,
player.
A perfect football player.
Tim Tebow was a real church mouse.
When was the one time outside of rookie year, outside of rookie year versus Houston, where he had a Hail Mary in the end zone to possibly tie up the game and win it? He dropped it hit him in the chest. Outside of that, I can't think of a play where I'm like, Julio made a mistake. Even when he slipped and fell in the end zone in 2017 versus the Eagles on that stupid bootleg outright. Like, we're going to bootleg with Matt Ryan. Even when he slipped and fell, got up, he still almost hit it, and Matt overthrew him. Like there's just not, Julio just doesn't make mistakes for the team.
I understand all this. And you're making strong answers for describing why he's a top 10 receiver of all time. And despite not having the stats of somebody who would be in the top 10 of all time, but him to be considered second behind, I can't freaking talk today, over Randy Moss. That's not happening.
Randy Moss wasn't a perfect football player, and that's not knocking him, but Julio was.
Are we ranking receivers based on who was the nicest guy off the field, or are we ranking them based
I never said Julio Jones was nice. I said he was perfect.
All right, we got to move on here.
Gavin's a problem also.
I'm
sure Gavin.
All right, we can't do that.
Jamar and Jay Jetta's got another 6 years before they can start sniffing that Julio territory. They're having a good stint. It's a fun run. I wish, Gavin. You wish.
No Kurt guys. That's not allowed. I hate when people do that in those arguments. Sorry, Gavin. We can't take that. All right, Trey McBride just signed a massive extension, the tight end for the Arizona Cardinals, to stick with the Cardinals. It is a 4-year extension worth $76 million with $43 guaranteed, $19 million per year, making him the highest paid tight end in the NFL over Travis Kelce, who makes $17, TJ Hawkinson, who makes $16.5, George Kittle, who makes $15, and then at one point, Darren Waller, which is insane to say out loud as a Giants fan, was making $17. In 2023, he had 825 yards, 81 receptions, and 3 touchdowns. In 2024, he took an even bigger step forward, 111 receptions for 1,146 yards and 2 touchdowns. Sean, I think I would be stunned if you have a shit take here, and I'm hoping that you don't. Is he worth being paid as the highest paid tight end in the NFL?
No, but close.
Oh, no.
What
are we doing here?
Here's why it's close. Because, and this is Trey McBride fantasy hype that's gonna go into this of why it's close. Because 5 touchdowns in 2 years from a tight end, and from someone that watches constantly at a tight end not get in the end zone when he should, a la Kyle Pitts. Like I can understand that there's an impact and a value for a tight end that is just apart from getting in the end zone. But that's not top money tight end. Top money tight end is doing what Travis Kelce did, Jimmy Graham did, constantly in the end zone, blocking your ass off. I'm sure McBride does that. I thought he was going to have a bustaroo season. I thought it was going to be down because everyone's saying, I taking Trey McBride in the third round. He's going to have so many catches. He did. He shocked me. I was stunned at what he did this year with the ability to be the real only option outside of Marvin Harrison Jr. on that Cardinals offense to get the ball to. I thought he made some exceptional plays, body control, not worth $19 million a year.
That's an awful take. I don't usually come out that direct with you. That's an awful take to say that he's not worth being the highest paid tight end in the NFL. We've seen some massive contracts that have been given out during this latest expansion of the salary cap.
Mm-hmm.
Him making under $20 million is incredibly worth it. Do you know who was the 4th leading receiver in the NFL this year?
Trey McBride.
It was Trey McBride behind Jamar Chase, who had 1,700 yards, Amon-Ra St. Brown, who had 1,200 yards, Brock Bowers, who had 1,100 yards, and then it was Trey McBride. He had more. Oh, no, that's receptions. I'm a dummy. Trey McBride still finished in terms of total yardage. He still finished fourth, though. The capable impact that Trey McBride had, despite the consistency from Arizona, I think is incredibly recognizable. Marvin Harris Jr. taking a little bit of time to get going, get cooking. He's probably going to turn into super dominant receiver for them if everything pans out and if Kyler Murray can get him the damn football. But he was so important and is so important for their future success. He is one of the most dynamic tight ends in the NFL. It was a down year for tight end production. Do you know who the third most productive tight end this past year was?
Sam Laporta.
Travis Kelce still was, despite only having 823 yards this year. There were not a lot of tight ends that had big years this year. It was a down year for quality big-name tight ends. The guys that I just named, Kittle, Hawkinson, definitely not Darren Waller, who's too busy making rap videos about his ex-wife still.
Sure. No love lost for him, I guess.
No. Oh, no, he stunk. Big dummy decided to go through a breakup, decided to move and then not find a way to communicate with his girlfriend across the country and then go through a breakup. Yeah, I still hold out a little bit of a grudge for him not doing not only did he not do anything, but he also sucked. Not only did he not show up, but he also was awful. And he was a weirdo. He was a total freaking weirdo. I don't have any respect for him. Trey McBride, though, I have a lot of respect for, who is a tremendous dominant tight end who had one of the best seasons for a tight end. And if Brock Bowers wasn't such a freak, we'd be talking about him even more highly. But because it's the Arizona Cardinals and they're one of the least covered teams in the NFL, he automatically is cast off as I just got to see a little bit more consistency. No, screw that. Third year in the league, and he is the second leading tight end in terms of yardage and goes well over 1,000 yards any day. Easily worth the $19 million.
I just don't know.
You don't know what?
If he's really worth $19 million, because what do you get? What do you get out of it? What's next year? And
another 1,000-yard season?
He's no Algie Crumpler. You're right, Ryan. He is no Algie Crumpler. Algie Crumpler could roll off a tackle. Algie Crumpler couldn't go up and get some of the balls Trey McBride can, but Algie Crumpler could also find the end zone. That'll be right with a lefty quarterback who can barely throw the ball. Are you kidding?
Okay.
No, I'm not going to let you walk down Algie
Crumpler
today either.
Hold on. I think, though, that you are playing exactly into what I just said here, is that he does not get any love. He does not get any recognition because no one pays attention to or gives a shit about the Arizona Cardinals.
100%
Cardinals
correct.
Fans.
You're right.
That is why I'm saying he deserves more recognition and deserves this money, because nobody saw the damn Trey McBride highlights because they weren't getting put on Red Zone.
He's good. He's great. He's a very good tight end. But Laporta should get paid more than him. Bowers will eventually get paid more than him. And they should.
They're not up for contracts, though.
Pitt's paid less. There's going to be some players that he –
Oh, you just calling out this guy deserves less money? Nice.
Well, come on. Kyle Pitts has had time, and he did not put together a year like Trey McBride did this past season. I'm sure year 5 is going to be great, Kyle. I'm really rooting for you. Paying that much to a tight end, typically it would be a foul move. I get it. It's the Cardinals. They're kind of floating they're not in the deep end. They're not in the kiddie pool. They're just in the middle area. They have a tremendous asset in Trey McBride. You kind of want to keep a guy like that around. Like, common sense says, let's keep him around. Let's pay him. He's not hurting us. He's actually helping us a lot.
You're framing this like this is a guy who had like 600 yards this year. By the way, who you just claimed is better
as a tight end. It's tough. It's tough for me.
You have to understand why throwing him the football. He has a toddler throwing him the football.
Oh, is that toddler going to keep on throwing him the ball this year behind the bad offensive line, which they're trying to get better with Paris Johnson Jr., who put out some pretty good tape this year?
I reject the notion that you just pointed out that Laporta, he probably will make more than him, but Laporta's not better than him. He had a really good first year in the league, but he took a step backward. We have seen a year-by-year improvement from Trey McBride. Again, I'm going to keep reiterating this. You are downplaying him because there is not enough natural exposure to him, because not a lot of people care or pay attention to the Arizona Cardinals, especially when they're middling and they're just missing the playoffs. They're not getting the first overall pick. They're not actually in a playoff spot. They're just sitting in that ambiguity where nobody talks about the teams that are hovering around 500. That's why he's not getting any love from you.
Here's what I'll say. True. Here's what I'll say also. In defense of Trey McBride, he should be paid more than Cole Kmet. He should be paid more than both those doofuses in Buffalo. He should be paid more than both the doofuses in Green Bay, unless Kraft has another great year. Like, if Kraft breaks out, that's a better Trey McBride than me, because I think Kraft runs really, really hard. McBride kind of a little more of a silky guy. Like it just have a little more edge, a little more Kittle. You play a little more like Kittle, everyone's going to get paid. You're going to be happy. You're going to be doing better. He's better than Ingram. Should be getting paid more than Ingram.
Oh, obviously more than Evan
He's
Ingram.
better than a lot of tight ends.
Pretty highly this upcoming year. I don't know. I just don't like the way that you're framing him as if he's some sort of.
It's the Cardinals. They had to make a move. I get it.
He's one of their best players. Like
he's one of their players.
Stop. You're saying that
a Cardinals best player. A Cardinals best player means nothing to me.
Do you think that Trey McBride, if he was on another team, he wouldn't be as successful? Is that what you're trying to get?
I think he'd be more successful on another team, on a better team.
I don't understand this logic, brother.
I just don't get why the Cardinals feel like dumping a bunch of money, $19 million.
They have one of the best tight. They have one of the best tight ends in the NFL.
Yeah, but they're not going to do anything.
Getting tight end.
So what are you doing? I don't think they're realistic.
So you're just supposed to mail it in and give up?
They're not realistic about their situation. How am I on the? How are we flip flopped here? You're talking about Mr. Team Builder dumping $19 million into a tight end when you don't have Dick.
That's a perfectly normal, fine thing to do. A guy, I don't like the.
You just called them out for having a toddler quarterback and a bad offensive line. You're praising them paying a tight end a bunch of money.
Don't like paying free agent tight ends. Drafting tight ends and keeping them around ends up being something that pans out. Think about the last tight end that was traded for or that was signed in free agency that has gone on to be super productive. Most of those guys stick with their teams and they end up having long, successful careers. Like seriously. What was the most recent best example? Darren Waller was a huge bust, and he was paid all that money that we just talked about a second ago.
Sure, yeah, I'm fine with it.
Who else can we even think of that's even in like Hunter Henry stunk? Jonnu Smith maybe could be described as that.
Austin Hooper stunk when he left Atlanta.
Yeah,
I'll give that to you. I'm just saying for what all the Cardinals
keep those guys in the building. They don't draft well.
I understand why they made the move. I understand it. Like I'm not appalled by the move, but you're also in obscurity on the Cardinals. And I feel like with what you pointed out of why they're not winning, you would address that first before paying the big time tight end.
I would argue addressing keeping the guys in the building that you are drafting that are performing well is top priority. Like look at all the guys that they've drafted that have not panned out. And then also on top of this, guys that they have drafted that have gone elsewhere. Son Reddick, Isaiah Simmons that have carved out roles with other teams. That has been the turnstile that is this Cardinals roster. So when you very rarely find a guy as successful as Trey McBride, you pay him and you pay him the most out of any tight end.
I hope he does really well. I hope he has a really good season. I'm sorry. I'm getting caught up in the mix. Hey, Jim Schultz. Yes, I did. I did put him over Randy. Keep on. You catch up to the stream, Jim. I love you, but holy hell. He's better than Randy Moss.
All right, let's move on to this Cincinnati Bengals news. This has been not talked about enough. I don't understand how more people aren't talking about the seriousness of this capability. The Cincinnati Bengals could be relocating out of Cincinnati. We discuss all the time when leases are up with teams. And more often than not, you start to hear and you start to see the renderings of the new stadiums. You start to hear, oh, they're just going to move the team to a different location.
A couple blocks down. Yeah.
Right. All of those things. This has been a very strange saga to like dig into and to read up on. The lease expires on June 30th in 2026, unless they exercise an option that is coming up on June 30th, 2025. So they exercise the option, it extends it. But if they don't exercise that option, that is what is going to create even more drama with this. Now, our favorite representative for the Bengals, who we talk very glowingly of on this show, that we talked about her very respectful comments about Trey Hendrickson last show, she happened to, of course, weigh in on this because she is now the mouthpiece for the Cincinnati Bengals, Vice President Katie Blackburn, Executive Vice President, sorry. Her quote on this: we could, I guess, go wherever we wanted after this year. If we didn't pick up the option, if we didn't pick that option up. So, we'll see. Like I said, all these things will be done in due course. We're having discussions. So we're hopeful that the county is thinking about it. Geez, I can't read. About it a lot too, and wants us to get it addressed in a way that would be beneficial to both of us. We love where we are. Our stadium obviously needs to continue to be maintained appropriately, and you want to keep it at a certain level that's important, just so that we're competitive with others. I'm not criticizing her, but I'm just saying in general, they shouldn't leave Cincinnati. This has been a historic franchise since Paul Brown started it, and the impact that they've had on the history of the league, they represent a lot of things. the Raiders bounced around multiple locations.
Yeah.
Okay. Them leaving and going to Vegas, don't really give a shit. Same thing with the Rams. They bounced around multiple locations. Them going to Los Angeles doesn't really matter. The Chargers moving up to Los Angeles doesn't really matter because it's really not that far away. You can still root for them. They're still nearby. I think it's such a stupid thing.
It's a
that
mistake.
But people from San Diego complaining about it. It's like, just get on the damn highway or take a train and you can go to the.
But they had a team right there, so I think teams in LA is a total mistake.
Okay.
It's a total blunder, but it is what it is.
That's not that incorrect. That's a good point. The whole point with this, though, one, just your general thoughts and reaction to the Bengals possibly leaving.
They're awful. This is the off season of the Bengals just being way out of the realm of the where you need to be in the NFL. They just miss. They're becoming an embarrassing franchise, a franchise that we thought had true promise. Go ahead, leave Cincinnati. I go ahead, do better. I have a suggestion. The only way you actually maintain some type of relevancy and get a quick fan startup in your new city. I'm not defending the city of Cincinnati. I've never been there. I don't know if Cincinnati's nice or not. I know it's been featured in some movies. Looks pretty cool sometimes. Other than that, you're a historic NFL franchise that hasn't moved. You have deep roots, deep ties. Even if it is in Cincinnati, Ohio, that's football country. And I respect football country. I respect those that will go out into a bitter December Cincinnati afternoon that's 20 degrees and freezing. They'll go out there and root like nothing even bothers them. I get pissed off if I have to watch a game on TV in December and it's just a little chilly in my room. So there's differences here. I respect the football history in Cincinnati, but just finally do something competent. That's what the Bengals need to do. Just do something easy and competent, which is staying in Cincinnati, getting the lease renewed. You're an NFL team. You have the money. You can come up with it. You're literally a part of the biggest organization that we have in sports.
I think the biggest part with this news, it's kind of clear that there's a strong chance that they return. Just because there's a capability of them opting out of this doesn't mean that they don't end up sticking in Cincinnati. It just feels really weird, and it's also not getting enough recognition for how not likely this is or how this just could end up happening. I always love reading the articles of potential destinations. We'll talk about that in a second. But my final thought with this, it's really quite silly to me that you have one of the most invested fan bases, that I see them interacting and commenting on things on Twitter all of the time. They are one of the first fan bases to interact with things that I post, commenting like, this player, when I post film, this player needs to go to the Bengals. This player needs to go to the Bengals. They have an invested fan base that will always pay. Moving to a new location, I think, would be silly. It's just like the Raiders moving to an area where nobody gives a shit in Las Vegas. It's all away fans. All those teams that we talked about, the Rams and the Chargers, them moving to Los Angeles, no one cares about those teams there. It's always away fans that are filling those stadiums.
Yeah, same with Vegas.
I don't really know why you would try to embed yourself in a new market, and it would feel really gross to try and say a new team or a new city represents the Bengals. If we were to pitch to a couple of destinations, I always like the thought of a team going to Toronto. I think that there is a really invested fan base in Canada in all major sports, that you could end up getting representation, and that Canada would be very excited to have their own franchise. Not the same weather, but you're kind of maintaining that Midwestern-ish feel. You're not like moving them all the way to San Antonio, which feels like insane. The other one too, I keep seeing Portland is an interesting one to consider.
Oh God. I think people in Seattle love being sports fans of teams in Seattle. I don't know if Portland means a football team. It doesn't scream football to me.
It's a lot of rain.
It's a lot of rain. It doesn't feel like a big sports town. They got the Blazers. That's fine. That's great. You have an NBA team that I think you like decently, but that's not NFL territory up there. I don't think there's a big contingency of NFL fans in Portland. Now there's some football fans that are going to say, "Oh, I'm from Portland. I love football. I wish I had a team down the road." Well, there's not enough of you. There just isn't.
Right.
It's not football country. I think they should put a second team in Chicago. I think we should just drop a second team in Chicago.
What?
Go ahead. Do it. Split it up. Split the city up. Do a White Sox Cubs bit. Let the people that have been hurt by the Bears for so long have a chance to jump off. It's also still in the Midwest, like what Cincinnati was in. Go ahead, put another one in Chicago. I'd love to see someone else go to St. Louis, but the Rams belong there. So I wish they would go back to St. Louis.
I wouldn't mind them in St. Louis. I think St. Louis is like a great football town. And then the history of knowing that like when the Cardinals were there and the Rams were there, there's always an acceptance by those cities. I believe after the Rams left, there was like a recent headline that some relocation group was trying to aggressively build steam for it to become a new destination for either a new franchise or a new franchise or a relocating franchise like the Bengals in this situation. The other one, I wouldn't do Birmingham or Oklahoma City. Those are two that have been thrown out there that I don't think make a whole lot of sense.
I might go Milwaukee. I might go, go ahead. Put it more in football country.
I don't know about Milwaukee.
You can't put a new team somewhere.
What about Louisville? What if we put it just in Kentucky it's already near the border of Kentucky. You'd still maintain most of the rabid fans, and then the people that live in Cincinnati could just end up traveling. I don't know what where's the Kentucky Derby?
I mean, Louisville doesn't have I think it's in Louisville. Louisville doesn't have a pro
two
sports
idiots
team,
who don't know shit about. This is the not knowing shit about geography segment.
Yeah. Louisville doesn't have a pro. Does Kentucky have a pro sports team?
No. Cincinnati is essentially their pro sports team because it's really close to the border.
God. Yeah, maybe they should just keep it in Cincinnati. I wouldn't mind seeing a city split. The NFL, the South, if everyone thinks that the South, where the teams are in the Southeast Conference, is some hotbed of football. No, it's just college. It's just college. Yeah. Everywhere else around there is just the South. It's not living lavish. Everyone likes just going to the college football games and flexing their money there with their ridiculous RVs. That's what they like to do.
Here's my pitch here. Okay. I think the NFL should try and do something incredibly unique. Okay, if you can relocate a team. This is not Bengals specific. This is just if you can relocate a team or add a new team. What if you have a team that they don't play in front of a crowd? Like it's only for broadcast only, and it's kind of like that Field of Dreams baseball game. Like we just put them in a cornfield, or we find a random opening, a valley near a mountain in like Montana.
Put them in Canton. Let them play at that field the whole time.
Oh no, that field sucks. That field's a piece of shit.
You just pitched a cornfield, a Field of
That would
Dreams
be cool.
field.
That would be cool. Middle of nowhere. Nobody's there. It's just dead silent. There's no stands.
I played a couple baseball games in some cornfields where way out in Haymarket, Virginia. Unsettling. Smell of manure around you the whole time. I played okay. I didn't do great. So I'm okay.
It's too distracting.
Not have a little bit. It was a little distracting. Like, man, it still smells like shit out here.
Wait.
Kid.
Here's my final pitch. We put them in the Kibbe Dome. Bengals in the Kibbe Dome.
Now you're onto something.
Bengals in the Kibbe Dome.
Gets loud. It'll get loud.
I bet they would pack that shit out. Cincinnati Bengals playing in Moscow, Idaho, in the Kibbe Dome.
It's cold. It'll be a must. You're not losing seats in the stadium due to great weather and people having other stuff to do.
Gavin hates my plan about putting them in because it wouldn't generate revenue. That's not the point. It's not the point. It's for the uniqueness. It's for the unique aspect. I wish the NFL, by the way, this is a side tangent. I wish the NFL would do some sort of a Field of Dreams type game like that, where it was just on like a random practice field in the middle of nowhere.
But what they play,
like whenever they do,
would you put that Rutgers, birthplace of football, or something like that?
No. I just like that shtick when the MLB does. Are they doing that again this year?
I think so. Yeah, I think it's a yearly thing.
I wouldn't know. All right, let's get to Hack of the Week.
I hope it is.
Let's get to Hack of the Week. So every week we do Hack of the Week, which is either somebody in media or somebody in our real lives that does a real total hack bit. One of Sean's greatest strengths, one of his greatest traits, is making social observations of people. Now, his biggest weakness and the biggest negative of that is he often forgets to tell me these things.
Yeah.
And he often has some amazing tidbits, just amazing anecdotes that he creates from observing things. He waits weeks to tell me some of these things. You told me something that was so insane yesterday about someone you noticed on the shuttle that our apartment provides that takes people to the PATH train that takes you into New York City. I am going to need you to explain this. This was hilarious to the both of us yesterday when we were in another galaxy. I will not elaborate what I mean by that. And I'm sure our listeners are smart enough to understand what I'm referring to when I say that. But what did you notice?
Yeah, so these last couple weeks, a bit of an adjusted schedule at work. So I'm taking the 8 a.m. shuttle to the PATH station, get on the PATH train. Everybody else, all the other Joes going into the city for their jobs. And my shuttle is always packed. And it's normally the same people. You're sitting next to someone different every day, but normally the same people. You all walk to the same train. And sometimes you end up on the same car in the train. This past week, and I had been observing a little bit. I get on the train, I do a quick scan who's on, and then we start moving, do a deeper scan, kind of see what people are, see what shoes they have on, see what they're doing, who's cool, who's not cool, just doing a full scan. I like knowing who's on the cab with me or in the train car. And there's been a girl on the train, but that we've happened to be on the same train in the same cab about 3 or 4 times this week.
To cut you off, Sean leads me in with this yesterday, and I'm thinking, oh, this is some sort of meet cute. Sean's going to tell me that he's been chatting this girl up on the shuttle, and he just happened to forget to mention to me, like, oh, I'm taking her to get dinner.
Yeah.
And
we exchanged pleasantries.
Yeah,
and it went well.
That's not what happened.
No.
You made a really mean observation. Not a mean observation. We're about to make fun of her, but he made a really funny observation about her, and we need to dissect this.
I noticed that she's been reading a book this week, and that is
you need to figure out what the book is.
That's true. It's not rare to see people reading the book on the train. You have about 15 minutes, maybe 20 minutes on the train, get a little bit light reading in. The end of the month, you've actually finished a couple chapters. Maybe you're halfway through the book. Sure. Whatever. It's a good habit to develop. I'm pro reading. I have noticed that this girl has been stuck on about page 2, page 3 for the entire week.
So this has only been this week, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
I've seen her on the train a couple of times. I don't know. I can't confirm if it's the same book or if she made an adjustment, but she has not moved past maybe the opening she has not passed chapter 1. Not a chance in hell. Is
it a big book?
It's a significant book. It's probably
400,
probably 300 to 400 pages. Yeah.
This is just so amazing to me because you and I were trying to break this down. Like, how could you possibly?
She doesn't want to read, man. She doesn't.
Well, wait, is this a LeBron James type thing? Like, she's like, maybe if I bring a book on the train, some tall, handsome gentleman who is on his way to his producer job will chat me up because I'm reading a cool book. Maybe that's what that is. Maybe she just wants to come off as very intellectual, and she was hoping that somebody will start a conversation with her. Just like, again, LeBron does this thing, and I think he commented on this recently, how he doesn't read the books. He did the whole thing where you constantly see him on page 1, and then you never see him actually finish the book. You never see him reading it again. I think that's what this is. She is the LeBron James of your train shuttle.
It's shocking to see someone feign the attempt of intelligence so quickly in real time, where other people read on the train. It's better than looking like you're scrolling TikTok on the train. It's better than.
Well, I would do it because I don't want to. I start reading and I haven't read in a while, and it's pissing me off. I try to read as a distraction away from TikTok and from my phone before I go to bed. If I was on the train reading, it'd be like, I'm trying to learn something this morning before I get to work, and I don't want to be just scrolling mindlessly on social media.
Well, real readers would have actually
read the book,
made it
past the first chapter.
And train readers I have no problem with, but the idea that you're going on the train every single day and you have to keep on rereading the same page.
I'm going to read the book today. I'm going to get past this first page today.
And all credit to her, trying to read the book.
How long is the ride? So I keep cutting you off. How long is the ride? 15 minutes? Okay, so realistically, if you're a real reader, you're going to get at least 15 pages or more in that ride. If you're a real dummy and you're just starting to try and get into reading, you could at least get through 5 pages. Five minimum. I could have probably get through 8 or 10. I like to reread stuff in case I don't fully understand it, which is what we were talking about.
There's a really good chance that she's reread the same page every day.
But wait, but hold on here. So this is what our theory was yesterday. It's not what I was saying just a second ago, where you'll read a whole page and then you'll reread a paragraph before you move on. It's like, okay, wait, what detail did I kind of maybe not miss, or oh, this seemed really important. Let's just kind of re-hone in on here. We think that she's getting to the first page and she's maybe staring out the window. She's getting text messages. She's just getting distracted. And then she's like, oh, great, I'm already off the bus. I got to get off the bus. I got to get on the train. You think that the zone out is what's happening here?
I think it's a total zone out. I think it's just I'm not saying she can't read, but that's not an environment where she can actually get it done. And
I think it's the LeBron James thing. I think that she just wants to look like she's reading.
Hey, Gavin, also, you're kind of on meat right now.
Might need to be put in a timeout. That's a crazy thing.
I'm over here.
Gavin.
I'm just noticing things on a train. And if I see someone stuck on the same page for 3 days, I'm gonna take note that you are not moving through this book whatsoever. Quit reading. Give up. You're done.
I don't think I would have noticed this. This is why I'm pointing out these are really distinct. It requires a very distinct lens to notice these things. And I applaud you because it is a great trait to have for this industry in this show that we're trying to build, is that you're able to notice these it's a
stupid little pattern that I notice. I can pick up on pattern. Gabby, a lot of my brain it functions poorly with a lot of things, but pattern recognition, I'm all up on it. I know how many steps it takes me to cross a park. I know every single I know every single line in a crosswalk number from here to the path station. Like I know
your observation skills are weird because we walked past a print shop and Sean and I have been talking about for weeks getting printed hats with a concept that we've been thinking about and bouncing around. And I pointed at it and I go, oh, or actually I didn't even say anything. I just pointed at it. I'm like, oh, look. And Sean's like, man, that bird wearing that shirt was cool.
Yeah.
And I was pointing at the sign that said screen printing. You were caught up with the bird that was in the window.
Why wouldn't you be pointing?
I didn't even see the bird.
I didn't see the sign.
The sign was bigger than the bird.
The bird was wearing a shirt.
To get back to what we were talking about, can you, for the universe of this show, can you please not ask her about what page? Don't turn this into a curbed type situation. Don't ask her and go, excuse me, miss, I've noticed that you haven't made it past this first page. And I just got to ask, why are you moving so slow? I don't want you to do that. That's going to be incredibly uncomfortable.
Yeah.
I have 2 pitches for you. One, you say, are you a big LeBron James fan? And she's going to be like, no, what are you talking about? Well, LeBron does the same thing that you've been doing where he holds the book and he's not actually reading it. I just want to know if you're just trying to come off as smart.
Mm-hmm.
That's what you can do.
That's not confrontational at all.
Maybe there's a nicer way of putting it. Or just ask her what she's reading. I would.
Are you enjoying that book? You liking it? You sinking your teeth into it?
Well, this was the other thing I said to you. Do as much digging into the book as possible and start asking her a lot of really deep questions that happen later on in the book.
That you know what? And that also gives her the out from not having to read the book if some big moron spoils it for her. And then she's like, oh, well, somebody spoiled it for me, so now I don't get to read it. I've missed out on the hours and hours it would take me to get to chapter 3.
Steve gets it.
No, Steve does not get it either. Steve does not get it.
She wants you to talk to her. She knows that you've noticed.
So this book is supposed to be some invitation to ask her.
Are there any other attractive men on the train? Or actually, you're not attractive. Are there any other men on the train?
That was about to be a real nice compliment.
I've complimented you too many times this week accidentally. Are there any other seemingly single men on the train?
Oh, tons of guys with clean haircuts, with leather shoes, with rubber soles on the bottom. Is plenty.
Is that a requisite trait for an individual who has their shit together?
A little bit.
Rubber soles
to dress like a dork. Yeah.
Okay. How many men would you say are on the shuttle?
On the shuttle, I don't know. It's probably even split 50-50.
How many people? 10?
20 people on the shuttle.
So there's 10 dudes.
Yeah.
Where would you rank yourself amongst the 10?
I don't know, like 7. Take up so much.
7th out of the 7th place.
Take up a lot of room.
I'm afraid to find out. I'm afraid to find out what 8, 9, and 10 look like.
But she ain't reading on the shuttle. It's all on the train. Shuttle.
Oh, you're ending up on the. So you're getting on the shuttle and then getting on the train. At the same time
and then with random happenstance on the same car. Typically,
every day this has happened.
No, like 3 days. I saw her 3 days on.
She's doing train. You are the easiest person to spot. She's seeing that you're getting on, and she's hoping that you will note it. How close has she been sitting to you when you've been doing this?
I don't sit down. I stand on the train.
How close has she been? Has she been standing or sitting?
Sitting. Girls sit on the train.
How close has she been in proximity to you? Has she been typically like in a close-ish, like not like a weirdly close, but like a general close proximity?
Typically halfway down the train.
So she's not like near you. She's like away from you.
Yeah. Like if I'm looking over to check
but she's not at the other. But she's not at the other end of the train. Okay,
no.
so that's the right distance to not make it seem weird. But she also wants you to maybe come up and talk to her.
I don't think she wants me to come up and talk to her while she's trying to read on the train.
You know, that would actually make the most sense. Maybe
it could just be a really good deterrent.
Well, yeah, I was gonna say it's just a really big book to she's not gonna read it, and she's keeping away idiots like us from interrupting her.
Screw you! I'm not looking up from this thing. I'll look right between these pages, not read a word.
Can you talk to her? Would you willingly do it?
Yeah, I'll start a conversation.
Okay.
Hey, you liking that book?
Do you think you have a shot? Like, is she going to be?
She doesn't look like a person that
would be
is
into you?
interested in giving me the time of day.
Oh, so
and that's not even like
that's not
even like a pretty scale. It's just I kind of know the archetype here.
But it's not the reads a book on a train archetype.
She's looking for a book on the train. I think she's looking for a finance bro.
She doesn't know that you're not a finance bro.
Oh, I think a lot of people could tell when I'm stepping on in my Adidas and swishy pants. Here, Joe, when you're walking, let me teach you, learn you something. Finance bros usually wear pants that are made of some type of fabric.
Yeah.
Mine are basically made of
trousers. They're wearing trousers.
Mine are made of tarpaulins. And the noises they make don't say this guy's got money. It's this guy's wearing the pants that fit.
This is easily illustrated by the fact that Sean, the first 5 minutes, Sean makes it back every single day, makes no recognition of me sitting in my little
I'm not trying to bother
the cubicle I've created, but his pants are off within the first 10 minutes.
Yeah,
every single time.
Got to get them off immediately.
All right, let's get to the hack bag. Do we have any questions?
No, I don't think
we don't have a single question.
Let me double check. I'll do a final scan here.
You awful people. Can you guys call in 201-834-4308? We get so many good comments from you guys, and we love you guys. But when you don't pull your end of the bargain here, and you don't call, you don't give us even a Twitter DM or something, it hurts our feelings.
That all you do is add to the show. You actually are great at it. The voicemails we get are great. Keep leaving them. We're not complaining. All the messages
ruined my day. That ruined my day.
All the Twitter messages. Hack City Pod on Twitter.
At Hack City Pod.
Active chat today also. Lovely. Great having
you guys were
everybody
great today, by the way. Everyone that was in here.
Let's get some questions.
Steve, David, you guys are always in here. Gavin, you're always in here.
Hey,
Mark, is Mark new?
I'm not. Here's the thing. David over here doing
guys,
shtick.
I need you guys to call in.
Hey, David. Here's the hair, pal. We got.
He's doing it to you too.
Yeah. I got a bald shout today.
Yeah, now you know what I'm dealing with.
Which doesn't happen.
These guys stink over here calling me bald.
Hey, David, hairline from God. DeLeone, he's got his own. He's got his own stuff.
Mine's fine.
Of course, you're fine. You're even better with the new studies that are coming out.
Mine's fine. There's no studies that I need to worry about.
Well, then why would the New York Post? Why would the New York Post say that a receding hairline is in thanks to White Lotus hunk Walton Goggins?
Walton Goggins is a treasure, and it would, first of all, it is a general honor to be in the same pervy's not the right word, just the same realm. If you're going to compare me to him, absolutely. I'd love to look like him when I'm 50, 55.
Yeah, who would?
My hair will be receding that bad probably when I'm 55, but it's not receding badly right now. This is a normal hairline.
I'm just saying that it's in
27-year-old.
I'm just saying that it's in.
You are. I can't wait until your hair just evaporates.
Why it won't.
I hope it does.
Hey, pal. It's not going anywhere.
I hope you get one of those annoying ones that's just the top of your head and you keep the front of the chair.
There's not one person in either sides of my family that has any distinctive mark of hair loss.
And we talked about this.
Not
the hormone that produces hair loss is a sign of high testosterone, but all you do is eat plastic.
Oh, love it.
All you do is eat plastic.
Yeah.
All those microwave meals that are just mostly plastic. Your balls are all plastic. Yeah, that's why you're not losing your hairline.
I got Jim, who I think saw my comment and is still backed up and wants to get back into Julio versus Randy Moss again. Or he knows we're in the decompression period.
Yeah.
Hey, Moss batted 320 on deep. What does that mean, Jim? It means nothing to me.
Get his ass, Jim. Get him. All right, we're going to close out. At Joe DeLeone, at Sanderson Radio, at Hack City Pod, 201-834-4308. Guys, we have never not played a voicemail on this show. I want anybody to call in with anything that they have. Please just call in. Please do it. We'll talk to you guys later. We'll be back on Tuesday. Are we going to do a Thursday show or are you out?
I should be good for Thursday.
You're leaving on Friday to go to Bowling Green?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. We'll talk to you guys later. Enjoy the rest of your week.